What's up, everybody? It's Coach Colton here I'm not at Columbus Martial Arts today. I am at my house. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today, we are doing our live stream bake-along for our community. Giving back to community is such an important thing, especially as a leader. So thank you for tuning in and taking a little bit of time out of your weekend to give back in one of the easiest ways possible, just from the comfort of your own home in the kitchen. So today, we're making a Buckeye pie, a chocolate and peanut butter pie. Normally coaches are talking about healthy eating, but that's not quite what we're doing today. We're doing some baking, and it's anything but healthy, but life's about balance. You gotta have some sweets sometimes, and we're donating them anyway. So I have all of my ingredients here out. If you don't have your ingredients out already, you're gonna need all the ingredients listed on the worksheet, as well as a couple of mixing bowls and a pie tin or a baking tin, something that you can form the end product into. So if you don't have it, go ahead and get them all out. You should have your chocolate chips, your room temp butter, your Oreos, your heavy cream, your peanut butter, your confectioner's sugar, and I think that is that one. So make sure you have all that stuff out and prepared. If you're at home and maybe you're a younger student, mom and dad, you're helping them out today, I'll kind of give you guys some guidance on what would be a great job for them and what would be a great job for you guys. And we're gonna jump right into it with probably the first step, which is kind of the longest step. What you wanna do is you wanna go ahead and get your Oreos out, and you also wanna get some butter out, okay? The recipe calls for half a stick of butter. So we are going to go ahead and get started today. I want you guys to take your stick of butter, and I want you guys to go ahead and melt it. I'm gonna use the microwave. You can totally use the burner on your stove as well. However you like to melt your butter is just fine. I'm just gonna use a microwave safe container. I have one of these little cauldrons that we use for fun stuff around Halloween time. We're just gonna give that a quick cut and pop it into the microwave. So doesn't have to go for too long, just want it melted and liquid. So I'd say probably a minute will do you if you're using room temperature butter. But we're gonna get that wet from solid, throw that in there for solid minute. Okay. Next thing we're gonna do, this would be a great job for if you guys have a younger student. We need to crush some Oreos. So we're gonna get our Oreos together, we're gonna crush them. You can use whatever container to crush them that you'd like. I don't have any, but the best way to do this, the way you can really have some fun, is if you have any gallon storage bags at home, just double bag it. Sometimes the chocolate cookie part of the Oreos gets a little sharp and it'll puncture through the bag. But just go ahead and get yourself a gallon bag and double layer it, and you can crush it with your hands. Or if you don't have any gallon bags, you can do what I'm doing. I'll move the camera in just a moment so you guys can see. Let's get in here. Boom, boom, boom. Do apologize as we move some things around. I'm not a professional foodographer, but we are in the business today. So I have mixing bowl here. I've got Oreos. Boom. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna throw those Oreos in. If you have one of the containers like this, we're just gonna use a row and a half or so. You can adjust as needed. This is gonna be the crust of our Buckeye pie today. So we're gonna throw in the Oreos, super duper simple and easy. This is a great thing for if you have a younger student because we're gonna crush these up. Boom, boom, boom. This is probably the longest step of all of them, and it comes in the very beginning. So find yourself a good crushing tool. If you have like a mallet or something, that would be great. What do I want to use today? I'm going to use, this should look great. You know what I'm going to use? I'm going to use an old-fashioned potato masher. Okay. Awesome. Nutella cheesecake sounds amazing. Yeah, at home, you may not be making what I'm making. If not, go ahead and just follow along and do your recipe. If you're making something different, let me know about it in the comments. Love to know what you guys are all making that out there. If you're not making what we're making today. I think I got this potato masher from my grandma. I'm not sure if you can see that in the light, but it's got some vintage kind of vegetable stuff on there. We got a whole cornucopia. We got some artichoke hearts, some bell peppers, some tomatoes, and we're just gonna go at it. So Just crush as needed, get in there, make it happen, start crushing it up. Again, anybody can crush Oreos. 3, 13, 14, 12, 7, doesn't matter. Just have some fun with it. Now you do want to be a little patient with this. I find that if you stop too soon and you have a very coarse crush on your Oreos, it's going to make it tough when you get over to the pie tin to lay it in a nice, neat layer, and it's not going to bind well with the butter. I'm going to open and close that microwave really quick. Oh, yeah, that's fully melted perfect, just so it doesn't keep beeping in here. It's not going to bind really well with that melted butter if it's not thoroughly kind of smashed through. So if you were to stop like this, that's way too coarse. You're going to want to keep going. Brownies, can never go wrong with a good brownie. So you're going to keep going until it's nice and coarse. They do make pre-done Oreo crusts, I think, in the baking section of most supermarkets. So if you bought one of those, you're definitely going to save yourself some time. Me personally, I've experimented with both. I make this a lot. I have a few people in my family that absolutely love this kind of Reese's peanut butter cup kind of pie. So I make it for special occasions. And I noticed that the ease is there, but it's just not quite the same. It doesn't have the same flavor as the freshly made Oreos. Probably has a lot less calories than compared to how many Oreos we're putting in. But I figure if you're making a chocolate peanut butter pie, you're probably not worried about the calories. So Ryan's making the Buckeye pie and Cody's making a peanut butter pie. That is awesome. Amazing. So we're going to keep going with this for quite a while. You want something almost resembling like pebbles, like not quite sand. I used to like it to have a little bit of texture, but probably like 40% sand, 60% small pebbles is what we want. Might give it a stir or two, make sure nobody's hiding out on the bottom there. But yeah, let me know in the comments, how many of you guys, cook with your students on a regular basis? Or if you're a student watching, how many of you guys cook regularly? This is something I think I started cooking with my dad when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And by the time I was 12, I was making full meals for me, my dad, my 2 sisters, everybody in the whole family. I'd be able to make a meal for them. I think cooking is such an important skill to have. Everybody needs to know how to cook because everybody's going to be, in charge of their household at some point. Want to impress a family member, do something nice, give back. Can't beat just baking something from the heart. Super easy. So we're getting there. A little bit more. You might have some road agents. Be careful depending on the size of your mixing bowl. It might be, have some flyaway crumbs across the house. So if you have dogs or cats, be careful. I know they're not supposed to eat chocolate. But that's the problem I have. Is I always put too much food in the bowl. When I'm making a salad or making something, I don't know if that's just me, but I always seem to overfill the bowl. And then I'm like, oh man, by then it's too late. Everything's in the bowl. You got whatever going on. It's a mess to get it back out. You just commit at that point. You got to just send it, So we're crushing. Now this is a great recipe for youngins also because you don't really have to use the oven. You just use the stovetop for the ganache, and that's pretty much it. You can really do that in a microwave too if you're really pressed and you want to make sure it's super safe and they can do the whole thing by themselves. You can do this whole thing in a microwave. It's a no-bake recipe, right? So that is what we're looking for there. So as you look at that, you can see it's a very fine kind of pebbly mixture. It's nothing too coarse. It's going to kind of give you some nice texture in there as you do the bites, but it is still going to be pliable enough to go to the tin or the caking sheet, whatever you're going to use, and be workable. So that's what we're looking for there. Nice, good to see you, Dylan and Noah. Isabel making the Buckeye pie tomorrow. Awesome. Okay, double the recipe for sure. If you want some of this, I encourage you to double recipe. Trust me, it is worth it. So we have our Oreo crumbs done. What we're going to do now is we're going to pull out that melted butter from the very start. So I put that melted butter from the cauldron there. Just let's stick it in the microwave for a minute, completely melted now. We're just going to add this to the pie, the pie crust ingredients here. So we're gonna add that in. Once you add it in, you're gonna give it a thorough mix, and it's gonna get a little wet. You want it to be pliable. Make sure that you coat everything nice. The butter should get it nice and kind of warm so that it gets sticky. It's going to heat up the sugars in the Oreo. It's going to get a little tacky, and it's really going to come together as a great crust. If you find that you don't have enough butter to bind it, you can obviously just melt some more. The fresh Oreos can absorb quite a bit. I think we're good here. Just keep working it. It doesn't have to be, super crazy. This is really going to set in the freezer quite nicely. So you see everything turn that dark color. It's kind of glistening. You should be good. I think I'm good on this actually. Let's see here. Use the half stick for this. You couldn't go wrong using a whole stick either. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Okay, so Oreo crust here, Nutella cream cheese pie, fantastic. Now you have your pie tin. I'm just using a pie tin. I always keep pie tins on hand. Growing up, I didn't have a microwave, so the main way that I heated up food was I just throw it on a pie tin, throw it in the oven. It also keeps you from eating a lot of junk food. A lot of junk food, you have like microwave directions, right? So I always had pie tins on hand. And of course, when you buy pre-done pie shells, you're getting the tin for free. So once you have your pie tin or your baking sheet or whatever you're pouring your crust into, just pour it in. Super simple. And then what we're going to do is we're going to work it into more of a crust form. So don't worry if it just piles up on you. All right, all that out there. Okay, so this is quite a bit. I may not use all of this because I still need some space for the actual pie. I'm just going to tamp that down, get a nice thin layer on the bottom. And then we're going to, this one's kind of thin, so I don't think you really need to work it up the sides. So if you had a higher walled one, you could kind of push it to the side and come up a bit. The main thing is that I want that bottom there, especially if you're using a dish that you don't plan on donating to the fire department and you need to get it out of that dish into something else. Don't bring anything that you don't plan on giving away, because I don't think those firefighters are going to give back our dishes, right? So whatever you're bringing it in tomorrow, it needs to be something that you're not too afraid about losing. So if you're cooking it in like a nice kind of porcelain pie tray or cooking tray, you may need to change things here. Awesome. Good to see everybody coming in. So we have the pie crumb here. What we're going to do is we're going to take this guy and we're just going to go put it in the freezer while we do the rest of the stuff. It's going to help this set. The freezer is going to be our big ally on making sure this pie comes out just right. Might have to move some stuff, make sure it sits nice and flat, and then we're done with this right now. We can set it off to the side. The second thing we're going to do is work on the peanut butter filling. So I have a second mixing bowl here. Boom. I also have some chopsticks, okay? And my chopsticks are my mixing tool of choice here. This is like my hack for this recipe. Is anytime you're baking with peanut butter, it can get extraordinarily messy. And I love peanut butter. So I have just some normal Jif creamy peanut butter here, nothing crazy. You got Oreo crumbs on the counter, chef's treat, okay? Don't judge me, all right? There we go. So hack, using the chopsticks rather than a whisk. If you try to mix this with a whisk, you're going to be so frustrated scraping out all of the little wires in the whisk or getting it out of the whisk. So I would mix this not with a whisk. Instead, I'd use maybe a fork or a spoon. In my case, I'm going to use chopsticks. That's just what I found works the best for me. But you may not have chopsticks, so use what you have. From here, I'm going to add my peanut butter into the mixing bowl. The recipe I posted does have amounts for all of this. I am not a trained professional, so I don't have them all committed to memory, and I'm using my phone right now to make sure that I can see the chat. So just follow the recipe. The great thing about this is that because you're not actually baking it and mixing it together, it can't go wrong in like the rise and everything. It's going to be just fine. So if you go a little bit heavy on the chocolate, it's going to be okay. Heavy on the peanut butter, you know, you do you. So I have the peanut butter here, just normal smooth peanut butter. You can use crunchy. It's a bit personal preference. I do like crunchy peanut butter, but I feel like it's not great for this here. Also, you're going to save yourself a lot of cleaning up to do if you just eyeball it, because you're going to have to either put a measuring spoon in there, which is very difficult, or you're going to take a normal spoon and then put it in. It's just a lot of work, you know? And it's peanut butter. So we're going to begin to spoon this into the mixing bowl here. Just eyeball it about the amount that we need in the recipe. If you're following along and you have any questions or something isn't working the way that you need to, feel free to put it in the chat. I do have it up here. It's good to see everyone. Mr. Jason, Mr. Henry. It's good to see you all. Okay, we're just going to keep going with this. And if you're upscaling, obviously it's just multiplication, guys. So just multiply it as needed if you wanted to make a second pie. I think that has us good on the peanut butter there. So I'm going to scrape that off. Get rid of the jar here. Top on that really quick. Make some PB&Js with the rest of that. And the next ingredient we're going over to is the powdered sugar. So this is like, the other one is the frustrating step where you're crushing, and you don't know like how long it's going to take, and you're crushing for a while. This one can be frustrating if you don't have the prep work done, because you're going to get peanut butter everywhere. You're going to get powdered sugar everywhere. And that's kind of the fun part of baking too, is you get to make a little bit of a mess and just clean up in the end. But I kind of like don't like to make messes. I like trying to be very clean in the kitchen, clean up as you go. You have less cleanup to do. And when the food is done, you're not stuck cleaning up. You can go eat right away. So I've got some powdered sugar here. We're going to add the powdered sugar to the peanut butter. Lead recipe calls for like 1/3 of a cup, maybe a 1/2 cup, something along those lines. I'm using 1/3 of a cup here. So about 1.5 to 2 cups of creamy peanut butter. Okay, so add the powdered sugar in. And then you're also going to add the softened butter. So I have the rest of the other half of that stick that I didn't use for the Oreos. I'm going to add it here. It'll let go of the old wrapper for me. There we go. Awesome. So before I made this recipe, I always wondered. I loved Reese's peanut butter cups growing up. And I always wondered, like, hey, why doesn't normal peanut butter taste as good as the peanut butter that's in like the Reese's peanut butter cups? And I found out the secret is a ton of sugar. Go figure, right? I didn't even think Reese's had any sugar, right? Just kidding. They definitely do. So clean that up there. In go the chopsticks. And we're just going to begin working that through. This is one point where you really want to have that butter softened so that you can really manipulate it. If it's still, just add the fridge nice and cold. Feel free to zap it in the microwave for a little while and just have it come together. Now we're just going to kind of hulk this out and begin smearing this around a bit. We're just going to continue until it all comes together. We don't want to have any loose pockets of powdered sugar, no loose pieces of butter. We just want everything to come together nice and cohesive. So we're going to keep that. You can see with the chopsticks here, mixing, and it's not getting caught in any kind of a whisk or anything like that. Will take a little bit longer because the surface area is not as big, but it'll save a lot of headache on the whisking part. Don't forget, as you guys are doing this, at some point, take a picture or a video of yourself working on it, whether you're making what we're making or something else. and then a picture with your finished product too. I just want to see how the process goes. If you're having any problems, leave it in the chat. How's everybody doing out there? So we've got some people making the Buckeye pie. I've seen some Nutella cheesecakes, some brownies. Is anybody else making anything out there? Anything different? I think tomorrow with our apple pie, we're gonna have a lot of people making fruity stuff like raspberry or apple or blueberry or peach or stuff like that. Today's for the chocolate. And I can see this has come together quite nicely. So it is pretty smooth and cohesive. There's a little bit of powdered sugar around the rim, so I'm not quite done, but as I stir, there shouldn't be any pockets of like butter or powdered sugar that are not fully incorporated. So once you get to this step, you're near the end. Okay. Now this recipe doesn't really take an hour. The full thing takes an hour to have it set and everything. But this recipe, we're already like pretty much 2/3 of the way through this thing. You think there's the crust, there's the peanut butter pie filling, there's the chocolate ganache. The crust is done. We just finished the filling. We got the ganache and we got to put it all together, right? So it is going pretty good. Ooh, Dallas and Peyton working on some homemade brownies and apple cobbler. That sounds delicious. Good work. Okay, so this is all done and good to go. What I'm going to do now is, it hasn't had a ton of time to set, but it's going to be okay. Just trust me. Go ahead and pull that Oreo crust out of the freezer. I should have just started to cool down a bit. It's definitely not frozen solid. That's okay. We don't need it to be frozen solid. But I have my Oreo crust that we made just a moment ago, and then I have the peanut butter filling there. So we're going to take the peanut butter, and we're just going to begin to work it on top. Now, it's important that this has come together a little bit. The only reason we really want this to stick together is that so when I start working the peanut butter around, it doesn't start moving the crumb underneath, because then what could happen is maybe the crumb moves so much that there is a blank spot underneath the peanut butter where now there's no crust. And that means getting it out of the pie tin is going to be rather difficult. And also, if I'm trying to transfer it out of a nice dish that I'm making it in into a serving dish that I am giving away, then that's going to be tough too. And it's going to be a little bit of a headache. Make sure you get all of it out of there. Might change off of the chopsticks for this part. Great mixing tools, but not great for delivering large quantities. Let me grab that spoon. And with the spoon, I'm just going to kind of come back. Be careful. Come back and scoop the rest of that out a little bit easier. And as always, at home baking, you want to test as you go. A couple treats for the chef in there. That's the student's job too. All right, students, make sure you test as you go. You don't want anybody getting poisoned, right? Joke. Jokey joke. All right. So we've got at least the majority of the peanut butter onto the pie. We're just going to spread it nice and somewhat even. None of us are professional bakers, but we're just going to work it around. You can see some of that crumb is moving. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. Try and get up to the camera really quick. So as I spread this around, what you may see is some of that crumb is getting pulled up. There you go. Now you can see how the crumb near the edge of the tin is getting pulled up. So just be careful as you go that you're nice and gentle. You don't want to remove any of the pie crust if you've already worked it, and especially if you kind of made it stretch. If you're using like a partial thing of Oreos and you didn't get a nice full layer beneath, then if anything comes up, you might be left with a spot. So we're going to just kind of work this around. The chocolate ganache is going on top of this, guys. So if it doesn't look amazing, and maybe a little OCD and you like things to look perfect, don't worry. This is going to get covered up by our chocolate in just a moment. Me, I'm perfectly fine with this. It's a little crazy around the edges, but you'll see as we pour the ganache on top of this, it's going to become quite beautiful and lovable, okay? Once you pour that out, once you get a nice layer, you can take that and put it back in the Oreo. I'm gonna do a little bit of cleaning really quick before we start on the ganache and just get some things out of the way. If you have any comments or questions, I have the chat up here. Feel free to ask. There we go. I've never really hosted a cooking show before. So if I'm going too fast, if you need me to slow down or repeat the process, the directions weren't on the page. So if you need me to slow it down, we're good. Oreo looks delicious, amazing. I enjoy it. Well, it's funny you said. I was thinking about that. Maybe we don't do this whole thing where, you know, because it is a little bit of time and effort to make sure you have all the ingredients in the house and you know, delivering the pies on Monday morning, all that stuff. But maybe we could do like a thing maybe once or twice a month, like a cooking with coach thing, or maybe we teach about healthy eating, or we do some kind of a cooking thing. So if that's something you're interested in, leave it below. If you're not already following our Facebook or our YouTube, make sure you guys subscribe because we're putting out a lot of new content this year, whether it's martial arts related, parenting and coaching related, just leadership mindset stuff. We have a lot of content planned. So go ahead and, as the kids say, smash that bell, click the subscribe button, and make sure you guys are up to date on that. So far, I'll turn you guys up so you guys can see me for a second. Hello. All right. So far, you guys should have the crust, the Oreo crust with the chocolate on top, resting in the freezer. That's going to set a little while. Now we're going to make the ganache. And for me, the ganache is like my favorite step. And it's sometimes worrying, so don't panic. What we're going to do, just to give you guys a pre-frame, the next step involves the heavy cream and also involves the semi-sweet chocolate chips. So make sure you have those two ingredients on hand and ready. What we're going to do is we're going to add the heavy cream to a small saucepan, and we're going to turn it on the heat just to get it boiling. And this is the only time in this recipe that I use the stovetop, but if you don't feel comfortable and you're wanting your student to do the whole thing, they can definitely put this and get it scalding hot in the microwave. This is going to take a little bit longer and it may evaporate a bit more, but totally microwavable as well. After it is steaming hot, we're going to add our semi-sweet chocolate chips to it. And it's going to look like a failed experiment, a clumpy mess of, you know, just really bad chocolate milk. And you're like, oh my gosh, did I not get the milk hot enough? Did I not use enough chocolate, or it was the ratio off? Just keep stirring through and you're gonna see it come together and turn into this beautiful, glistening chocolate ganache that is like, you can see your reflection in. And I think it's such a satisfying change to see that like milky, clumpy kind of mess. And as you keep stirring, it usually starts in the center of the pan, it's gonna work its way out and you're gonna see a very awesome chocolate ganache. So let's go ahead and get this on the boiler. And while this heats up, I'm just going to have some measuring cups on the side. I'm using just the small one that's already a pint, so I don't really have to measure. I'm just going to add the full thing. But if you bought a bigger thing and you're doing a double batch, you may need to measure. I think they do like half gallons and stuff like that too. So just add your ganache add your heavy cream to the saucepan. I'm going to turn it to medium or so. It's going to steam for a while. The microwave, you have to play with it. I have not done this one in the microwave before, but the microwave will definitely be able to get it up to temp for you guys. This would be a great time while this is heating up. I like to clean while I cook and cook while I clean, and that way, as soon as the food's done, I can eat it while it's hot and I'm not stuck, because I hate leaving a dirty kitchen. You know, people say it's got to set, it's got to soak. I'm like, oh no, just clean it right away. I hate it. So, you know, if you have things out and about that need to clean, get on that while this is heating up. I'm going to put some things away. We're done with everything except for the chocolate chips. So if you still have sugar out, butter out, Oreos out, you can find those in your pantry, or in the case of Oreos, you can make those disappear some way, somehow, I bet. So I'm going to put this up really quick. I'm interested in the comments. What are some of your favorite things to bake? What are some of your favorite things to make? If you're not making it today, and you could eat anything or make anything at home, sweets-wise, what would be the thing that you would like to make the most? Put this around that pantry one set. All right, let's see what we got going on in the chat. Okay. Scoot up a little closer here so I can see you guys. The light's kind of bright, it's hard to see the chat at the same time. There we go. So making a coconut pie, I love coconut. Anytime I'm getting boba or I'm getting cake, coconut cake, this is my favorite cake. I love coconut. Making coconut pie, amazing. Anything chocolate. I'm a chocolate lover to the core. You can't go wrong with chocolate, although I like to mix it up from time to time. A lemon blueberry cake. Her favorite to eat is apple pie. Apple pie is phenomenal. We're doing apple pie tomorrow. If you're tuning in both days, I'll see you there. If not, that's cool too. I love apple pie. I also do apple dumplings. If you haven't had that before, there's a couple ways this prepared. I like for just the wow factor is I peel and core a full apple, and after the apple is peeled and cored, I'll take my dough and I'll wrap it, and then I'll turn it over, and in that hollowed out core, you fill it with like brown sugar and cinnamon and stuff, and you put it back on the pan, and once you bake it, it's kind of a mini like self-serving, or maybe this is kind of a big one, maybe a half serving, maybe half an apple. You eat that with maybe some vanilla ice cream. It's amazing. Mashed potatoes. One of my sister's favorite food is mashed potatoes. I think I'm a French fry guy, but mashed potatoes are really good done the right way. More of a French fry, maybe a big loaded baked potato kind of guy. I agree. We love chocolate. Chocolate is amazing. I was thinking about doing a thing where I make my own chocolate. I've seen it done on like, you might have seen it on social media and stuff, where they take like the fruit and oh no, careful on that. Don't let it overboil. Clean it up real quick. You may need to move it a bit if you've noticed that your heavy cream is like developing a skin or anything. Just go ahead and move that around so it doesn't burn on the bottom. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, making my own chocolate from like the cacao nibs. I was thinking about doing it. It's quite a long process, but pretty fun. I'm gonna turn on the where is it? Oh no, where's it on this one? No clue. Okay, so there we go. Just moved into a new house and we're still moving in. Had a little bit of a spill. There's some smokers trying to turn the fan on, but we're all good. Yeah, so I was thinking about making my own chocolate from cacao nibs, just trying to make it full thing. And just finished something. I've been thinking about like fermentation, like on longer projects. I just made this. This is like some fermented hot honey. There's like, I think like 10 habaneros in there, about 5 cloves of garlic. And that's some awesome local honey. Kind of leave it uncovered out to ferment for a few days in like a dark, cool environment. You can see it's really loose for honey. I'm not sure why that is, but something with the chemical imbalance there introduced by like the peppers and the garlic makes it a lot runnier, but this stuff's awesome. You can put it on chicken or pizza or all kinds of stuff, but I'm interested in possibly doing the raw chocolate stuff. Okay, I'm guessing by now most of your heavy cream is either boiling or just really hot. It doesn't have to be like rolling bubble. In fact, with heavy cream, that's kind of tough to do. But if you notice the top is moving or if there's any steam coming off the top, then you're good to go. So we're going to make that ganache really quick. The temperature of the cream also affects how long it takes for you to stir it for it to come together. So I have the burner off. I have the super hot cream here. And I've got my chocolate chips. We're going to go half cup on this. Gonna tear it open real quick. There we go. Let's get some access here. Just gonna kind of pull it over. So we got about half cup there. Okay, that should never hurt anyone. And then once you add it, you're gonna take it off the heat. So that boiler is still hot. I don't want to keep it on there. It's gonna scald on the bottom and overcook. So I take it off, and then I'm just gonna grab, you know what would work great for this? Some chopsticks. So we're gonna wash those off really quick. Really some kind of stirring device. Okay. So we've got it here. All right. And I'm not sure if you can see this as the camera adjusts for a second. Okay, so it's a kind of just a clumpy, kind of frothy mess, and you're gonna feel like it's not coming together. Just keep stirring. Just keep stirring, keep stirring, keep stirring. Oh wait, I'm sorry. It is a full cup for a liter. It's a full cup of chocolate chips. So add another half cup in there. My mistake. It is 1-to-1. So if you're using a cup of heavy cream, use a cup of chocolate chips. Still clumpy mess. Nothing going on. Just keep stirring. Sure, you get the edges as well. Sometimes the chocolate will move away from the center and you need to get around the edges. Just keep stirring. Getting close, and you'll see it's like almost like a science experiment. It's gonna switch on you here. I think we can put it on me. Okay, we're close. It's darkening color. Just keep stirring. This might take longer with chopsticks. I wonder if I'm getting the same surface area that I was with my whisk. Just keep stirring. It's going to start looking kind of like chocolate milk. And that's when you know you're getting close. Okay. I think I need to add a little bit more chocolate to it. If you feel like it's not coming together, just add a little bit more chocolate chips each time, but don't do it until all of the chocolate that's already in there is melted. So if you still feel like resistance against like your spoon or your whisk or whatever you're using to stir it, don't add more chocolate yet, because as you add the chocolate, it's going to just suck away more and more heat from the heavy cream. And it may not be hot enough to melt all of the chocolate that you put in there. And then you're gonna be left with like a lumpy, kind of curdly chocolate mess. So just keep going. wonder if I let my cream get a little too hot. Okay, it's getting close. Usually it's together by now, but also usually I use a whisk for this part. So maybe don't use chopsticks for this. That's the beauty about baking. Because as you bake, you get to kind of experiment and see what works. You can see the colors changed a lot. It almost looks like chocolate milk, but it's not quite there yet. I really want this like dark sheen. It's close, but it's not quite there. Okay, now we can see it's starting to happen. If you look in the middle of the bowl, you can see a darker colors being formed. Now we're getting there. So as I keep stirring, I think this took a really long time because I'm using chopsticks to that less like a scissors area. But as I stir, you can see that the color is changing darker and darker. Just gonna keep going with it. Also, see if I can pull it back a little bit. As you stir, you should be able to see kind of ribbons. If it's really runny, if it's just like chocolate milk or milk and it's too liquidy, like you see how this is coating the chopsticks, you want that. If this is running off and it's not sticky, then you're gonna not really have a sauce that's gonna set in the freezer. So if it's too runny, you need to mess with it, add some more chocolate until it's nice and thick, because we want this to set. And at room temperature, this should be almost like a chocolate pudding. Not quite as loose as a chocolate pudding, but that consistency. You should be able to pick it up with your hands and it not run through the gaps of your fingers. It's gonna, well, I guess if your fingers are all the way apart, it would, but you get the idea. You just don't want a super runny thing that's not gonna set on top of this pie. So it should be thicker than like a chocolate sauce that you'd buy for ice cream. It's definitely thicker than that. But there we go. We got that nice dark consistency now, dark color. It's shiny. It's kind of has a lacquer to it. It reflects light very well. It's very thick. This is what we want to add to the pie. And for standard pie tins, like the one I have, the recipe sometimes makes a little bit too much, but you can use this for so much other stuff and store it away in a jar or a squeeze bottle. You can use it for ice cream or pies. You can put it in cookies to make like the cookie dough, like chocolate cookie dough. So like they actually turn the cookie dough chocolate rather than just having chocolate chips in there. Sorry, that took a while. Maybe don't do chopsticks for that part. Hopefully everybody had their ganache set up well. That's that one part of the recipe where you're like, oh snap, did I not do something correct? Don't worry, you're doing fine. Okay. Once you have your ganache is going to be warm. That's why we need this cold. We don't want this melting through the peanut butter and other stuff. So we have the ganache set. We just pull the pie crust, and then we're going to pour. Be careful. As you can see, this is a standard, I think it's 8-inch pie tin or something like that. It's already very full. So this is going to come in and just sit right on top, and it'll be nice and smooth and have a nice sheen to it. Definitely don't just go and dump all of this on there, because it's probably going to overflow and you're going to really have a mess. So just add a little bit and then go from there. So I'm adding a bit and then I'm going to stop right there. Okay. So I still have plenty left. That's going to drip, but that's okay. I'm just going to set it right there on that. I'm going to take that, just make sure it's nice and even. The main thing here is I just want an even layer, and I want it to be the same color on top. That's like the only thing I'm picky about, is I don't want it to be uneven. So if like there's a part where maybe the peanut butter is higher up, it's going to have like a peanut butter mountain and then like chocolate valleys. So I do want enough chocolate to coat everything evenly and just have like a nice layer on top without drowning the whole thing in chocolate. So I'm just add a bit more. Good. And this is, if you had any doubts in your mind about whether or not this was healthy, now you really know it is really good. It's like a salad, right? Get all that and all the cracks there. I love baking, but I am not like a professional baker. I'm not a super neat baker. So I like to use the ganache to hide any of the mistakes that I made while baking. So if I didn't perfectly get the pie crust there, if I had any gaps on the peanut butter part, I just don't want it overgo in there. Okay. That should be good on this side. Nice. All right, and that is pretty much done. Now what you're gonna wanna do is just make sure that nothing's around the rim is overflowing. And now that the pie is at its fullest, we really wanna make sure that wherever you've been storing this thing in your freezer is nice and flat. If it's uneven, you're gonna have a chocolate peanut butter bomb go off in the freezer, which is not as much fun as it sounds like. So we're gonna take this whole pie and we're gonna set it back in there, nice and easy. I only have space for one pie at a time, so I went ahead and made a double batch of ganache. But I'll be making another pie crust with some more Oreos and another set of peanut butter a little bit later. That one is gonna be for me and the fam. But hey, that's a chocolate peanut butter Buckeye pie. If you guys have any questions, we're gonna hang out for a few more minutes, but we are 13 minutes early into the hour. We got record time, I suppose. If you have any questions about anything, or if you want to tell me how your baking is going at home, I'd love to hear it. Thank you guys for tuning in. How's everyone doing at home with their baking? How's the coconut pie and the Nutella cheesecakes and the brownies? How are all of those coming along? Let me know. Give me an update in the comments. Yes, you can absolutely add peanuts to the top. You can decorate in a lot of different ways. Sometimes I like to do like a peanut butter drizzle on top, or sometimes I like to add crushed, chopped peanuts to the top. If you're gonna add that to the top, you should add it before you put it in the freezer, because you want it to kind of set with that so that when you slice it, it all stays together. Otherwise, you just kind of have peanuts on top of something that's already frozen through, so it's going to slide and fall off. But yeah, if you have some chopped peanuts in there, go ahead and just sprinkle those around the top. It's a really nice way to take the pie, like on the visual level, up to that next level. Everyone knows you eat with your eyes first, so when you have something that has that kind of garnish on top, it just makes it look like that more artisan and that more amazing. We never use the chopped peanuts or granulated sugar. Yes, the peanuts go on top. Granulated sugar, we won't need for this version of the recipe, actually. In some recipes, you add some extra sugar to the pie crust. If you're using fresh Oreos, I find that's just kind of overkill. We won't need to add the white sugar to the crust. That's where that would have come in. The crust would have been Oreos, white sugar, and the butter. So I skipped down that today. But I think we have plenty of sugar in the rest of it. I apologize. The house smells amazing. Good, it should, especially if you're baking. Here it smells like chocolate because it's really the only thing I've heated up. But yeah. Any other questions? Awesome. Okay. Good deal. Well, in that case, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you had a fun time baking at home with your student. If it got a little frustrating, that's part of it. That's family. Thank you guys for tuning in. You know, if you made a double batch, no one's going to be frustrated when they're eating some chocolate peanut butter and pie. It's baking. It's not that serious. Have fun with it. Have a great weekend. Thank you guys for tuning in and giving back to the community. We'll open it up early Monday morning at 7 to start taking those pies. And by 9, we plan to be on the road visiting fire station after fire station that day, just handing them off to the different firefighters in the Columbus area. So once again, thanks for watching the Community update on everything that's going on. Just click the follow and subscribe button so that you can keep updated on all of our live streams and videos. These do get recorded and put in the backlog as well, or if you want to watch them later on some of our different Mat Chat topics. Hope you guys have an amazing weekend. See you on the mats very soon. Bye.